Hi, Zizaran here, and I wanted to make a quick video on Vaaling items and Vaal orbs, double corruptions, and stuff like that. I have a character I'm currently Vaaling a lot of items for, and I just wanted to explain some things and some tips and tricks around Vaaling. We have two ways of Vaaling an item or corrupting an item, and by the way, this is very risky no matter what you do and has a big chance of bricking your item. Bricking means that it's basically, well, as useful as a brick. First, let's talk about Vaal orbs and how they work. An Vaal orb has a 25% chance to do nothing, a 25% chance to add white sockets if the item has sockets. If it doesn't, then, another 25% chance to do nothing. It has a 25% chance that it is going to turn the item rare, effectively bricking it, and has a 25% chance that it is going to either add or change the implicit. So add is when it doesn't have one already, and change is when it already has something. So for example, a ruby ring can be turned into all resist, or a onyx amulet can be turned into +1 curse or +1 maximum all resistance. And there are some really good corruptions. For example, chests can get +1 all gems, and can get +2 AoE or duration or projectile. It can get 50% reduced damage taken from critical strikes. It can get there's quite a lot of good things here. And there are two easy ways on finding out what Vaal orbs do on which item. I usually go to the wiki and I will just click, for example, mace, and you can see the item level required as well. So sometimes it could be good to force a low item level item by handing it in to Navali if it's a div card thing on a item level, or sorry, on a level 2 character. Sometimes you'll see that maybe it only has bad things at 31 and 84 that you don't want, and then it can be good. Sometimes you can see that, wow, I actually need item level 85 if I want the physical damage corruption on a mace. So it's pretty easy to just click twice here on the one you want. You could also directly go on PoEDB and then scroll down to the bottom where it says Vaal corruption implicit. So those are the two ways that you can browse and see which ones are good and what item level they have. And sometimes you might be using a really cheap unique for your build. Maybe you don't even care about the rolls and you could just buy a bunch of it and Vaal it. It can also be good to, if you find a maybe mediocre thing that it's this is pretty good, but it's probably not going to sell, you could Vaal it. And if it gets any good implicits, then it might be worth a lot more. Same with gloves that are maybe decent. Maybe they're 70 or 80 life. They have 2 rests and you're not going to craft more on it afterwards. Well, you can Vaal it. If it gets a curse on hit, it might be an amazing glove. Again, do remember that this is a big risk and you can always end up losing your item, so don't do it on something that you aren't willing for it to disappear. And do remember, you can change the colors and sockets and links on corrupted items. A lot of people easily forget that, but as long as you put it in the crafting bench and you have the appropriate recipes, then all it requires is Vaal orbs in addition to the normal cost. That means that sometimes it might be a very cheap unique item, even on a chest, that you really want a really good corruption on. So for some super endgame items, it might be very popular to buy up 100 of a unique chest, corrupt it, and then 6-think it with 1,500 Vaal orbs afterwards. Because 6-thinking 20-30 items and then corrupting them could be far more expensive in the long run. When you're using a single Vaal orb as well, there is actually a neat trick you can do, which I'm 90% sure still works, and there are some things you can do to add implicits to items. For example, if you use a gilded fossil on a Stygian vise, it will have items that are more valuable and has an additional abyss socket. When you Vaal it, it actually has the chance that it actually removes the gilded fossil implicit instead of the socket. Pretty sure that still works. Might need someone in the comments to confirm, but that's a pretty neat trick that we can use. Still risky, but can be worth it. And we also have a double corruption temple in the Temple of Atzoatl. And the way this works is that this is a 25% chance to add every socket as white. If it doesn't have sockets, again, it does nothing. It has a 25% chance that it is going to brick the item, turning it rare, but it will also have influence, and this is actually important. And it has a 25% chance that it's going to poof the item. It will just completely gone, nothing you can do with it. And there is a 25% chance that it will get 2 implicits. And there's a couple of cool things about this. So with the double corruption chamber, this is very powerful. Obviously, 2 implicits can be very strong. That means you get a chest with +4 gems or +3 gems, an amulet with +1 curse, and an amulet with max rest. So there are some really good things here. But there's also a very neat trick. So let's say that I had maybe an okay amulet, right? It's a non-influenced amulet. It's got maybe 80 life. It's got dual res and maybe another cool stat or a crafted stat. I've anointed it with something okay, which by the way isn't necessary anymore. You can anoint things after they're corrupted with the new oils. But either way, let's say that we have corrupted it, and we get a really, really good outcome, but let's say that it doesn't poof. Let's say that instead it turns into a rare item, it re-rolls it, it's shit now. But it has Hunter influence. So now you're sitting with a, maybe a, you're sitting there with like a corrupted Amber Amulet. You're sitting there with a corrupted Amber Amulet, and you're probably going to vendor that. I'm sure a lot of the people watching have vendored it. But remember this recipe. A amulet, a red, a green, and a blue gem will uncorrupt it, turn it white, and it'll keep its influence, keep its item level, but it'll now be an onyx amulet. I'm not going to vendor it because I actually want this hunter amulet to stay amber, because I want strength. But this is a really, really good way that you can go for corruptions, or you can even go for influence early. And it can actually be like a cool way to try to evolve for implicits like +1 curse early, especially now that we can anoint them afterwards. So you can just like keep like trying to get like a decent item, hope for a different implicit, and whenever it fails, you can just like, well, first of all, you save yourself a scouring, and you don't lose the item base. So this is a really, really good tip. This doesn't really work on anything else. Iron rings, it does work on. Like if you happen to find a really, really good iron ring and you're like, this is a really good ring if it only had a good implicit. You can vol that, and a iron ring can be turned into a, if it does get destroyed and added influence, you can turn it into a ruby, a sapphire, topaz ring with a red, a green, or blue gem. But other than that, there's no like uncorrupting recipe for anything else. And it's not like it keeps the stats. It's mostly for saving the influence. And that is another good small tip, that if you ever find a iron ring with influence, don't go like, oh, iron ring. You've now found either a ruby, a topaz, or a sapphire. And the same with if you find like a power amulet or a coral amulet with influence, that isn't shit, it's just an onyx amulet. So make sure you remember those recipes. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video about corruptions, and I hope that helps you guys. And it can be really, really good. It's definitely something I'm trying to do on my character. So I hope it helps. I hope you liked the video. I hope you're having fun in Ultimatum. And again, as always, sub if you liked the video. But more importantly, try to die less than I do.